I guess they're going to tell me where to stand as well, right? Pleasure to be here. So when I was told that the theme for this forum was the butterfly effect, I'm happy to admit I had absolutely no idea what that was. Either they didn't teach us about it in school or I wasn't paying much attention in class. And perhaps the reason is because, I shouldn't be saying this in an educational institute, but you don't learn that much from textbooks. What you truly learn is outside the classroom, in your campus. You've got a beautiful campus here for that. So, I'm happy to admit that I had to Google it. And when I did, what I found was it's a very simple concept. Very, very straightforward to understand. Very, very simple. Small causes have large effects. So when you look at a business as a whole, and we join the sum of its parts together. Now I'm a businessman, so that's the first thing that I'm going to think about. We ask ourselves, what drives the business? Is it market share? Is it understanding your consumers' needs and wants? Is it quality? Is it profit? Of course. You can't survive without it. But what is it that drives all of those things? What is it that makes one business stand out from the other? People. It's the people that make a business. It's the people that define a business. It's all about what we say to each other. In my opinion, marketing is more about what we say to our people than what we say to the public. Why? Because through marketing you create culture. And we're going to talk about culture in a little while. People. It's how you convert a building, a structure made from steel, glass, and concrete, into a warm, inviting, and welcoming hotel. When terror struck the Taj Hotel in Mumbai in 2008, it was the people that everyone spoke about. They had forgotten about the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, and the 600 thread count bed linen, because those things are not going to save their lives. If it was anything, it was the acts of bravery and selflessness by the people of the Taj, driven by a culture imbibed from the Indian values of Atithi Devo Bhava, the guest is God, that saved those people's lives. So, what, in my opinion, is it that works in a business, in an organization? It is creating spaces for human aspiration, as simple as creating a space where people want to flourish. Aspirational places are those where you take a person out of their comfort zone. You take them from a place where they live, where they've lived their entire lives, and they're willing to travel long distances, get on a plane, even go through airport security and take off their shoes and belts to be able to come and be a part of what you are creating. Because they believe in your vision, because they believe in what you're doing, but more importantly, because like you, they too believe in people. And I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I was attending one of our board meetings and we were in Mauritius. And attending our board meeting with us was the chief executive of one of the largest beverage companies in the world. And as we said goodbye to each other and we bid a fond farewell, he asked me, he said, "So what flight are you taking home to Dubai?" And I said, "Late morning, early afternoon." I said, "Why?" He says, "No, because I'm also flying via Dubai to reach Atlanta on Emirates." Well, he was taking an earlier flight. So we were going to miss each other. We said goodbye, planned to catch up again soon, and that was the end of that. So imagine my surprise when I found him at the airport the next morning in the lounge. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Oh, you people made me drink so much last night. I couldn't wake up for my flight. So I had to get on the next one." I said, "Why are you so harrowed?" He said, "Well, because it's Sunday in Atlanta. My office isn't working. I haven't changed flights and changed connections and things in 10 years. I don't even know how to use my credit cards." Imagine, CEO of, I can't say it, but one of the largest beverage companies in the world, right? An idea struck me right there. Before we took off, I called my assistant, Catherine, in Dubai, and I said, "Meet me the second we land." Now, before I tell you what we did, I'll tell you about Catherine. So Kathy and I go back a long way. Kathy was my first assistant ever. She's still with me. I started the business with one assistant. She's employee number one. 2008, when we started it all out, it was Kathy and I in a small little office. As the business grew, Kathy grew. She became my chief assistant because they reached a point where there were 8, because it takes a lot to manage my life. As the business grew and I started traveling more, I traveled 26 days a month. So Kathy started handling my travel. That's all she did. I traveled with a small little army, and I don't usually get on the flight that I'm supposed to be on. That can become a problem for someone managing my travel, because the repercussions that go beyond with continued travel. And then, when we reached the size of 17,000 employees across 136 companies spread across 32 countries, we needed an in-house travel department. So Kathy went and headed up the in-house travel department. When I landed, I said to her, "I'm sending you away. I'm sending you to Chicago. We're going to set up a little office for you, and you're going to create a boutique corporate travel agency. And you're going to have one of your staff in every single one of our 32 country offices, so that whenever someone picks up the phone, there's always someone available to answer it. And you can change things around for all your clients at any given time." Kathy moved to Chicago. It cost me $146,000 to set her up there with her staff, rented an office, and set her up in a very simple space. That was my cost. At the end of the first year, Kathy had done a turnover of $2.1 million. Yeah, but that applause was for my idea. What if I told you Kathy was a 25% partner in that business? She used to be my first assistant. Now she's CEO of Iktara Group. It's been 3 years. She does a turnover now of $14 million. So when a company grows to 136 companies spread across 32 countries and employing a human capital of 17,000 people, how do you make sure it stays the way you wanted it when you started out? And there's only one way to do that, and it's called culture. You know, when you walk into a large corporate office, anyway, I'm sure you have many, what's the first thing you see? Cubicle after cubicle after cubicle, countless cubicles, and the bosses are pretty much at the back or on another floor somewhere in these big oak-paneled offices, and an army of assistants guarding them from outside. That's what you see. Well, not everywhere. When you go to Dr. Samantha's office, you're going to visit a tree, but that's an exception. Come to Iktara headquarters. Mine is the first office you will see. I have glass walls and a door that is always, always open. Everyone is welcome, and there's enough hot coffee to go around. That's culture. That's creating a culture that says, "Come on in. We're together. We're going to create this together." And in 8 years, I don't think I've ever closed my door. Culture. Many of you may have heard of a gentleman called Steve Wynn. Steve pioneered the idea. Steve's a hotelier. Steve's a gambler. He created the luxury casino idea in Las Vegas. Steve owns more real estate in Las Vegas than anyone else, Donald Trump included. Steve had a very simple thought. He wanted to create a company, create a business where people felt empowered. And he shared a story with me that I will never forget. Simple story. This old elderly couple comes to one of his hotels. I think it was the Wynn Las Vegas. I think it was, or the Bellagio. I'm not sure. One of them. And they check in, elderly couple, and they check in. And when they reach their suite, the lady, she says, "Michael, you've forgotten your diabetes medication." Now, diabetic needs to have his diabetes medication. So she's frustrated and she's harrowed by this. And so the bellman who's brought their luggage up overhears this conversation. He says, hold on a second, ma'am, hold on a second. Maybe I can help you. She says, "No, you can't, because this is prescription medication. Only a doctor back home can prescribe it." He says, "Well, where do you live?" She says, "LA, 4 hours away from here, by 4 hours drive away." So he says, "Well, okay, listen, hear me out. Do you have a housekeeper in your house?" She says, "Yes." She says, "Well, all right, here's what we're going to do. My brother lives in LA. I'm going to ask him to go over there, get the medication from your housekeeper, and then when my shift is over, I'm going to drive out there. I'll have a nice late dinner with my brother, pick up your medication, and I'll be back in the morning before Mr. Michael needs his medication. Is that okay with you?" And he did. And he drove out there. He brought back the medication. You think he did it for the tip? No. You think he did it because he was going to flaunt it to his bosses and get a promotion? No, nobody knew about it. Nobody knew about it until the old lady went and told someone. He did it because Steve Wynn created a culture. Steve is pushing 80 now. But he still goes to his restaurants, and if he sees it's busy, he rolls up his sleeves and he serves the tables. He cleans the tables. That's culture. And you cannot create that by writing it down. You create that by imbibing it with your people and by showing them that you too believe in that culture. I drive the culture in my business. My people drive the experience. What is culture? For us, 5 things. Pride, passion, courage, integrity, and family. Pride. Pride was earlier today getting out of the car because I didn't see a photo of myself on a big board outside KISS. No, that's not what I saw. I saw the name of my company outside KISS. And I got out of the car to take a photograph with that sign so I could send it to 17,000 people to say, well, here we are. That's pride. Passion. Well, nobody believes that I'm in Bhubaneswar. They can't imagine what I'm doing here. That takes passion. It takes passion to get on that airplane early this morning from Bombay and say, I'm going to talk to these people and I'm going to share with them where I've been and what I've done, and hopefully I touch one life. That's passion. Courage. Well, it takes courage to be here. But more than that, it takes courage to build a business when everyone said you would fail. It takes courage to start with $50,000. I didn't start with $100, Dr. Samanta. I started with $50,000. Yours is more impressive. I started with $50,000. And, when we did our valuations in February of last year, and that's last year, they told us we're worth somewhere around 1.8 billion. That took courage. It took courage to see that that's where we're going. Integrity. Well, you can't live your life without it. You've got to be true. You've got to be true to yourself, the people that you work with, partners that you have, because that creates a culture of doing things together. It creates a culture of inclusive growth. If you're true to yourself, true to the society, true to the people that you work with, nothing can stop you from achieving your goals because they're working with you, not for you. And that brings me to family. Well, I know it's cliched, everyone says it, but we live by it. The Sapna Iktara Foundation, which is a part of the group, the The foundation receives 25% of group profits every year. Hands down. 25% straight to the foundation. And they get it at the beginning of the year. They don't get it at the end of the year. So they can actually work. But we don't just give away money. No. We don't give money to anyone. We run the projects ourselves. And you know who runs the projects? Those 17,000 people. In their contract, it states that they have to spend a month out of every year on the ground in one of our projects. So they build a school with their own hands, or they plant trees with their own hands, or they clean up a forest and they make it into a residential community, or the last one we did was an eye hospital. They do it all by themselves. We don't hire people for it. That's a family. That's a family of people that I'm proud to say is mine. And family takes me to another interesting thought. Well, you know the butterfly effect? I think there's a better one. We call it the firefly effect. What is a firefly? Who knows what a firefly is? You know a firefly? Jugnu. You know what Jugnu is? Yeah. It's a fascinating creature. It's unlike you and me. It doesn't need a light to be seen. It creates its own light. It is its own light. It's self-driven, self-motivated, self-fueled. Sound familiar? But here's the thing. Even if you have this incredibly driven, self-motivated, tiny little firefly, if there was one flying around here right now, none of us would know. You know what it takes? It's when that swarm of fireflies enters a room and they light up that night sky and they change the way you look at things because they bring light. Self-ignited, self-motivated, a swarm, a family. That is how you truly create.